Good morning and welcome to our live crafting session this morning here in the UK. My name is Jenny McCormack and I'm an independent Stampin' Up demonstrator based in the market town of Brackley, which is near the Silverstone Formula 1 car circuit in Northamptonshire in the UK. Thank you so much for joining us. If you're joining us live, do say hi and pop a comment in, and then I know that you're watching. It's always nice to know who's watching with me. And if you're watching on replay, whether that is on Facebook or YouTube, if you have any comments or questions, just pop those in the comments section on either platform, and I do keep an eye on those. Sometimes they slip through the net, so if that is the case, feel free just to comment again or message me. So if you have any queries or questions, then don't hesitate to pop those in the comments section. If you joined me yesterday, you will have seen me use this new stamp set. Well, it's in the annual catalogue, so it's not that new, but the first time I've used it. It's called Vintage Tools, as you can see, and it features this lovely set of tools which could be for woodworking. So there's chisel and there's screwdriver, there's some adjustable spanners, there's a hammer, there's some nails or tacks, there's a plane. So very much aimed towards woodworking and things like that, but I think you could get away, especially if you use the hammer and things like that, for any type of DIY, carpentry, cars, mechanics, all sorts of things. Morning, Catherine. These were the two cards that I made yesterday, and these are the cards that we're featuring at Coffee and Card this Friday in Brackley and next Monday in Toaster. And I just used a die cut square panel to stamp 3 of the tools onto. And then in this case I've just put a strip of designer paper behind, and on this one I've stamped the background and add some designer paper, and then the little comments across the bottom. One on the left says it's your day, the one on the right says build in some time for yourself, which I think is quite a clever play on words. So I decided yesterday that I was going to do a pop-up card, and this particular pop-up card I don't think I've ever done. I certainly haven't done it live, whether I've done it many years ago, but I have in mind, and I have seen some other demonstrators do similar things with a pop-up to make it look like either a toolbox or a workbench. So that's my plan for today. My base card is going to be Crumb Cake, and then the pop-up element is going to be early espresso, and then what I'm hoping to do, assuming that element works, is I'm going to decorate it with some wood grain pieces and some flooring. We'll just see how we get on. Morning, Jeanette. So I'm just going to start with these 2 pieces the same, which is yes, they are the same, just checking, half an A4 piece of card, and I'm going to score those down the middle, and then I want the pop-up element to be slightly smaller, so rather than measure and then score that one, I'm going to score them the same and then just trim this one down. It's a lot easier to do it that way. So I'm just going to score these both at 10.5 centimetres. I'm sure everybody else has done these pop-up cards loads of times, but as I say, first time for me, certainly in as many years as I can remember. So 10.5 centimetres, that's half the width of that card. It's going to be scored, and then my inner piece I'm just going to trim 0.5 centimetre off that side, Morning, Rebecca. Hope you're well. And half as I'm going to take 2.5 millimeters off that side because I'm cutting both at the same time. So let's have a look. So when you're doing pop-up cards, you can draw and measure and cut with a knife. I'm going to do all of mine on my trimmer. So that will give us this inner layer. So what I'm going to do is cut out a section here that's going to pop out. So I'm going to start with that. Morning, Scylla. And let's see. All the work needs to be done on this fold. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut in, I think, let's say I want to come in a little bit from the edge. I'm going to cut in 1 centimetre, and I'm going to take it down about an inch, sorry, beg your pardon, an inch. I don't want it too thin at the sides. So I'm going to cut it down an inch, and then along this piece at 1.5 inches. Now this scale here, I appreciate you can't see it, but if I just put a piece of white card in, there's a grid that runs down here. So I'm going to use this to measure 1.5 inches. I could measure it beforehand, and I suppose that would probably be the most sensible thing. Hi Kerry, good evening to you. No, I'm just going to risk it. Why not? Okay, so I've got an inch. So I'm going to move my blade to the top. And then I'm going to bring it down 1.5 inches. Now I need to put my glasses back on to see what I'm doing. Okay, so there's the inch mark here. And I might have to put this back in to find 1.5. There it is. And then what I'm doing is I'm using the point of the blade to tell me when I get to 1.5. And I appreciate it's difficult for you to see, but I can see the 1.5 mark there, like so. Let's see if that's worked. It has. So it's 1 inch in, 1.5 inches down. Okay, and I'm going to do the same on the other side. So I'm just going to turn it over to make life easier. So 1 inch. Going to pop this back in so I can see where the 1.5, and the only reason I'm putting the white card in is because I'm cutting early espresso. It's very difficult to see. If I was cutting white card or cream card, it would probably be okay. And I could actually start at the 1.5 and go up if I want to, but I'm just going to bring this down to 1.5, like so. And because I'm going through 2 layers of card, I'm just doing it a couple of times. So fingers crossed, this is going to become my pop-up here. So the other thing I need to do is score along here and here so it pops up out of the card. And I'm just going to do that by, this is 1.5 inches, just up to here, I think. Yes, just to the edge of this white piece is 1.5 inches. So what I'm going to do is position this there, and then just use my scoring blade between my 2 cuts. And appreciate it's quite difficult for you to see. Hi Nick, thanks for joining us. Yes, that's one thing I love about our trimmer, is that you can position it. You couldn't do this with a guillotine. You can only do it where you can move your blade and then drop it down at the point that you need it. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to stand up so I can see it, and I'm just going to do a score line from that one to that one. And I know this score line is not going to go through both layers. Okay, so there's one, and then I'm just going to turn it over and do the same. So lining this up with the white edge, which I know, oops, sorry, which I know is 1.5 inches. Position my score blade using that line as a gauge. I'm just going to do that a couple of times to get a good score line. Okay, let's see if that has worked. So what we want to do is we want this to pop out. So I'm just going to fold this over carefully like that. Grab my bone folder. So this is the original crease here for the centre. And so now, technically, hopefully you can see that, when you open this up, I've got a little box desk, whatever you want it to be. So, what I want to do now is decide, so you can make this a chest of drawers, and I did think in car mechanic places they have those, is it Makita, the sort of bright red, so you could put make this a bright red panel, but what I want to do is make this into a table. So what I'm actually going to do is cut legs in the front. So what I'm going to do is just cut, she says, a line here and here. So this is the top of my desk, my workbench, and then I've got a gap here for the legs. So that's my theory. I just need to work out how I'm going to do that in practice. Oh yes, they would. That's a brilliant idea. Yes, you could have drawers, couldn't you? And put the dots as doorknobs that we used yesterday. Oh, now I'm tempted to do it as a chest of drawers, but I'm going to have a go because I want to try this workbench. So what I want to do is cut. I might need to measure this and draw a line. So I just want to decide how thick my leg is going to be, and I'm thinking probably 1/2 inch. So this is going to be 1.5 inches in, and I'm just going to draw a line. This is really where I could do with my T-square, but I don't know what I've done with it. So I'm just going to draw this line here, one, and the same with this one. It's going to be 1.25. No, 1.5. I don't want the legs to be too thin. So I'm just going to draw a line down there. And I'm not going to do this on the fold because I don't want to cut the whole thing out. I just want to cut this front portion, so I've still got the top of my table. Hope that makes some sense. So just going to position this in here. Oh, and I could have just done it 1.5, couldn't I? And again, pop this on here, draw up to, or cut up to that fold line. Going to do the same on the other side. Let's make sure I'm doing the right piece. Stand up to see the line, like so. Okay, so there's my legs coming, so I'm just going to cut that whole front panel out between those two lines. So I'm just standing up so I can see what I'm doing. Fingers crossed, everyone. So there's one cut. Yep, that's worked. Whew. And then this one's easier because it's on the crease. And I'm sorry if you can't see where I'm cutting this. Okay, now question is, did that work? So that's going to fold, yes it did. That's going to fold down. That's going to be up for my workbench. Whew. That worked. Okay. So what's going to happen is we're going to fix this inside of our card like so. None of this element here gets glued. I hope you can see that's quite difficult. I'm hoping at the angle you can see what I'm going to do. And that's going to come up like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a work top on here, some flooring here, and then a piece behind that I'm going to stamp some of the tools onto. So let's do the work top first. So this measures, let's do it in centimetres, might be easier, about 9.2 by 3.7. So I'm just going to grab a piece of crumb tape. So what did I say? 9.2 by 3.7. So there's my 9.2 and 3.7. Let's see. Okay, so that's going to be my little top for my desk, and then I'm going to have a panel across here that I'm going to stamp the vintage tools. So I know the width of that is just under 14, just over 14, and then this height here, if I just put a little border on, will be 6. So let's cut that. Do 6. Just going a little bit over because I can always trim it down. Hi Sue, lovely to have you join us. Okay, so this is, I'm making a pop-up card workbench. So that's going to be the top of my workbench. This is going to be where I stamp my vintage tools. And I've got just a tiny border which I'm happy with. I don't want it hanging over. I could take it down just a little bit. Morning Baz, thanks for joining us. Just going to take a couple of millimetres off, literally, if that. Okay, let's see how we're doing. So this is going to be up the top as our piece above the bench. This is going to be our bench work surface. And then I'm going to put a piece across here that will be tiles. And I did see, what did I see? Grab something, oh yes. So from our celebration papers, this is the On the Farm piece. It's got this lovely background here, which is just sort of like a painted, what is it? Not even a grid, but I thought that might work nicely for the flooring. So let's just cut that for size. So I'm going to cut that to 6. Oh, it should be the same as the other one, shouldn't it? 6 by 14, give or take. So a fair bit of cutting, but nothing ventured, nothing gained. There we go. I think that's all of our cutting. So there's our floor. Here's our table. And this is the piece at the top. So let's stamp this one first, and that's all going to go onto our base card. So I'm going to stamp the tools going across here as if they were hung up across the top. Now I know the scale isn't right because, you know, the spanner and the hammer are bigger than the workbench, but I think we can take a little artistic license here. Oh, bless you, Baz, still in bed. I'm so sorry to hear that. Now, I refilled my early espresso yesterday, and no doubt I've overfilled it, so just scrape a little bit off. Problem is, you put a little bit in and it doesn't seem to make any difference, and then you put a little bit more in. So let's see. So I've got assorted tools here from the vintage tool set. And my thought is just to have them along here as if they were hanging up. So there's that one. There's the spanner or the pliers. Like so. We've got the screwdriver and we've got the plane. So I think the plane needs to go the correct way, really, like so. And this will just fit in, I think. Definitely more by luck than judgment. Hi, Linda. So there's our panel across the top. I think I might pop this small screwdriver in. Put it like that. Okay. So this is the back of our workbench scene. That's going to go up there. This is our tiled floor. And then this is the top of the workbench. So what I'm going to do is I want to make it look like wood grain. So I have our timber embossing folder. And what I'm going to do is ink this up and then just put this piece in the folder. I'm not going to run it through the machine. I just want it to be inked. And I have to remember which side it is. I'm going to try soft suede. And the honest answer is I can't remember which side I need to do. I think it's the bottom one. Okay, and if it isn't, it doesn't matter, I can turn it over. Okay, so I'm going to pop this on there and then just press this together. Not going to put it through the machine, just going to do that. And I have got my handy little tool that I use with my Stamparatus. Sorry if it's moving the camera a little. Let's see. Just about there, isn't it? I suppose I could have inked up both sides, but hi Glenda. So there's a little bit of, I know it's quite light, but timber embossing. That's going to be on our workbench. So this is the top, and in fact I might take Catherine's idea of using those metallic dots to put in the corners as if it's a panel up above. Oh, I got it from a very well-known online supplier, Baz, and it comes as a pack of 2, a large and a small, and amazingly this is the small one, but it's really good for pressure on the stamp apparatus, because I have a lot of people with dexterity issues, and rather than pressing on the stamp apparatus they can use that. So this is my floor, this is my table, and that's that. And let's put this bit together and then put it onto our card and see how we do. So this is our flooring. So I'm just going to use a little bit of our seal, like so. Just giving that a little bit of margin around that. This is the top, and I'm sure I have seen there is a dots and spots die cut die, that's the word, that would put holes into this, and that would make it look like one of those boards that you put up and you hang things off. So that would be another way of doing this, or you could put like a mirror up. You could make this like a dressing table as well, couldn't you? Okay. So there's the top piece. I'm going to pop these on while I'm here. So this is how this is coming together, our little workbench. And let's grab, I just want to grab some scissors. And the reason why I'm putting these on now is because it's easier to do this flat than when it's on the card itself. So I'm going to pop these on here. 1, 2, 3, 4. And I could, I can get this up, stamp and cut out some of the tools to put actually on the bench. I need to do them flat because you don't want too much, you know, sticking out. But that could be an option, or I could just stamp them onto my piece here. I could stamp some of those nails, couldn't I? Okay, so that's our top part of the back of our bench. This is going to go onto there. That's our workbench itself. So if I just put that together, hopefully you can see that, like so. Thanks, Jeanette. Pegboard, that's the word. Thank you, Baz. I couldn't think what it was called, but yes, definitely. And then you could fussy cut all of those out. So the question is, shall I just put, I think what I'm going to do is just stamp some of those little nails on there. I could put some on the floor as well, couldn't I? Depends on how tidy this person is, doesn't it? So let's just put like that. And I think I'm going to have some on the floor. Why not? Like so. Okay. Let's put this layer flat on there and put it together, and then I'll decide if I'm going to cut anything out and put it on the top. So I'm going to use some wet glue for this so I can position it. So we're using this set for coffee and card. We're not doing this one for coffee and card. If you missed the ones yesterday, yes, garden workbench, anything. Let's put it's on this side. Yeah, because you could have flower pots and things along here. So, okay, there's our little workbench with our unit behind. As I say, the scale is completely out. I'm sure you appreciate that, because the you know, the plane is as big as the bench itself nearly. Right, let's pop this onto our card base. So I've just got crumb cake for my base here. You could also add a little bit of, which I think I'm going to do, a little bit of ink around here, just to make that a little bit more well used. Because it's a little bit white really, isn't it? So I know who this would be good for. For those of you that know my family, this is the perfect card for them. So yes, any tools you've got, if you've got that garden set, I'm trying to think what it is that has the rake and everything else. That's actually retired. I saw it in my retiring box the other day. And just to let you know, if you haven't seen on my Facebook page and you're local to me, I've got my biggest ever buy one get one free in March, where you can come and browse all my retired stock, purchase that, and then choose the equivalent amount for free from any of the current catalogues. So that's 12th of March. There is an event and I will be emailing that out. So let's just put a bit more around here, just to make it look a little bit more. Garden dies, that's it. No, I didn't emboss the floor. I just used a piece of designer paper from Celebration, the one that's got in the On the Farm. Yes, it is even bigger scale. But you could scale this up. You could do an A5 card rather than A6 card. So that would work. If you had a retirement party, you could you could do it even bigger than that. Okay, let's do the same with this. Should have done that before I added those, but never mind. And you could really go to town with any of the backgrounds, but as I say, if you've got the makeup set that we had a while ago, you could do a little makeup dressing table. That's the word. Let's be short of words today. Just conscious of the time, but we're doing all right considering. Okay, I'm happy with that as it is. So this is going to get placed in here, so that when we fold the card up, this is what we're going to get. So remember, you only want to put glue on these pieces here. You want to steer clear of the table. So I think I'm going to use wet glue just to give me a little bit of manoeuvrability. So down here, yep, I had to think about that for a minute. Along the edges, okay, and then just going to do some pieces along there so that it doesn't pop up when it shouldn't, and a little bit here and here. Hopefully I've got that right. so here's my card, and I'm going to place the two centre lines together like so. And then I'm just going to fold it over before I push it down, because I don't want it to buckle in the middle. I want the natural fold. Hello, Brenda. There we go. That's okay, Brenda, please don't worry. Oh no, I've got to put something on the front now, haven't I? Okay, I didn't think that far. Right, so I'm happy with that. So here's my the background, here's my little workbench, here's my floor with little tacks all over it. So the question is, shall I cut something out? I think I do need to cut something out and put it on the bench. And I need to put something on the front, so maybe I'll just use this patterned paper. This is the piece it came from, On the Farm. Hi Valerie, hi Katie. And put that on the front. Maybe, I'll tell you what I may have left from yesterday. Is a piece of that die cut card that I could stamp some tools onto. Okay, so here's our workbench. These are the cards that we made yesterday for anybody joining, and this is what we're doing at Coffee and Card Friday and Monday. So I'll show those again at the end, because I know obviously some of you have come in the middle. So there's our workbench. So I'm going to cut a piece of this for the front. So, and obviously you could do a lot more with the front if you wanted to. I think maybe I will add a layer of espresso. So I'll make this 9.5 by 13.85, like so. And let's do the edges like we've done here. And I'm going to use soft suede for this. I don't want it too dark, especially as I've just inked up my early espresso. I must warn everybody on Friday that my early espresso is rather well inked. And I need to find my spare ones. I've got 3 early espresso ink pads. And at the moment I can only find one. And I think that's because before I had my operation I put all of the craft stuff tucked away. Okay, so this is going to be our front. Because we want it to be a surprise in the middle. I haven't got as far as thinking that actually I needed a front of this card. Can you tell? I only had in my mind how I was going to do the inside. Okay, let's add some of the little tacks or whatever in. I'm going to put them in all 4 corners, like so. That, and here, like so. So sorry this is a longer video than normal. Okay, so there we've got all our tacks in the side, and I think what I'm going to do is just cut a panel like I've got here. And I could do with the sentiment as well. So let's put, I'm going to leave that sentiment actually for the minute. So let's grab a piece of crumb cake. I'm just going to measure this element in the middle, so I'm just going to make this, for example, 8 by 6. So 8 centimeters long, and then 6 that way. Slightly short, wasn't I? Let's just trim that a bit off. So that's going to go like that. I'm just going to make it a little bit narrower. Like so. That feels better combination, and I'm going to put the plain there, and then there is a sentiment with the plain. If I could find my stamp set case, which I've now buried somewhere, there is a sentiment. Oh my goodness, here it is. You're plain awesome, which I think is quite clever. And I think that would work quite nicely on here with that and that, yes. Okay, so here's the plain. I'll pop it here on the right hand side, and I just love the detail of these stamps. They're not distinctive stamps, but there's a lot of detail, and that's not very straight. Let's get it straight. To the block. Okay. All right, let's try again. There we are. You're definitely not, Kerry. And yes, Rebecca, well, Cassie the dog is outside my craft room door, waiting to come in. It wasn't very straight either. And I shut the craft room door because the kitten was hanging around, and he has a habit of just arriving without any warning. There we go. You're plain awesome. Clever play on words. Okay, so this is all for the front. So I'm going to layer that onto there. I'm going to grab some early espresso. Put some offcuts here that will work. So I'll pop that on and trim it down. And then we're done. So I'm pleased with how it came out. Might have been better if I thought ahead and worked out that I did actually need to put a front on this card. But there you go. You get to see me as is, as my brain works, which is think about the inside. Okay, right, just trim this off with a little border, not even measuring this, just using line of sight really on my trimmer. That's going to go onto there, and then this might even be the right size. It is indeed. Okay, so let's layer this together. Like so. So just centralising that. Oh, sorry, I've gone all croaky. I've done that already, haven't I? Yes. This is going to go onto there, and I think I'm going to pop it on with dimensionals. Got some dark ones here, some black ones, so we have a mixed pack of black dimensionals. And this vintage tool stamp set is our stamp set of the week, so remember, if you order that from me between now and Sunday, it's always the Sunday at the end of the week I've featured it, then I send you all the components for the cards, so that would include this one here. Okay, so looks about right. That's going to go on the front. And I just need to decide if I'm going to stamp and cut out one of the tools to sit on the desk. Now, we used to have some tool embellishments. Yeah, let's not put that upside down. But I don't think I have any anymore. But that would have been perfect. Hi, Tracy. Okay, so there's our little workbench inside, like that. I think I'm going to put the smaller ones of those on this panel, because then it looks like that's quite a special front, and then hopefully they'll be even more surprised on the inside. So just going to lift these little ones up. These are rustic metallic adhesive backed dots. Not rusty, rustic. Okay, so there's the front of my card with my plain, and then here's the little pop-up workbench. Hopefully you can see that okay. And I think I'm going to cut something out to put on there. Probably I think what's easiest. I think the plain is quite nice, but it's quite big on there, so I think probably the pliers. Excuse me. So let's stamp them onto here. And also you could go to town and, you know, stamp out loads of them and cut them out if you want to. Thanks, Vaz. Thanks, Rebecca. Very unlike me. But there you go. Sometimes you just got to give it a go. And I might stamp this little one as well. We did used to have some like screw head don't know if they were brads or just flat embellishments, but they would be good too. Okay, I'm just going to cut these out. Let's just move that over there. Obviously this is just finessing the card, so if you've had enough, this is just finishing this one off. So let's see, it's Wednesday morning, so we'll be back tomorrow, Thursday evening, at 7 PM UK time for another using this vintage tool stamp set. The stamp set's only £21. This would have been really useful to have dies with it, but there you go, there aren't any dies. But it is our featured stamp set for Coffee and Card as well for this week, and next Monday in Toaster. There we go. Let's trim that down a little bit. There we are. And it's a very different day today. Much milder, I have to say, but much more dull. Yesterday was a very hard frost, but beautiful blue skies. Okay, there we are. Here's our pliers that are going to sit on there. Now, I'm not going to pop those up with dimensionals because that will prevent the card from having a good closure, but what I will do is probably put a glue dot on so it's got a little bit of height but not too much. And let's just cut out this piece as well. Move that out of the way. Go. And then we're done. And then it'll be time for a cup of coffee. And then I'm on with, the rest of my day is starting to pack the class in a box boxes. So my final order for that is due this morning, any time now, I expect. There we go. Let's just do that little bit there. You could, I haven't coloured these in, but you could definitely colour in these handles if you wanted to. For example, with your blends pen, let's see what I've got to hand. I've got a bronze. So if you wanted to, you could colour these in just for more detail. But I do like the detail that's included in the stamp, so that's just why I don't think you need to colour them in. Okay, let's do that. Let's add just a little bit. Oh, that came off complete. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to pop this on with a glue dot. That will give it just a small amount of height, literally a millimetre. There we go. Actually going to put two on there. Like so. Same on the back of that one. And we're done. So here's our workbench. Let's have it maybe like that. I didn't think about that before I put it down, did I? There we go. So can you see it's got a little bit of height, but it will still allow this to close like so. Whereas if I'd put dimensionals in there, it would have added a little bit of height. I might pop a little bit of glue on those two. And there we go. Let me clear the workbench for the workbench. Oh, Kerry's got 37 degrees tomorrow. Well, good for you. That's all I can say. So I hope you like our little workbench. It worked out really well. I was really pleased with it, actually. I forgot, of course, that I had to decorate the front, but there we go. So I hope you like it. The stamp set we've used is Vintage Tools, and the cards that we're making at Coffee and Card, for anybody who missed that, and these are the ones that you can see on the video from yesterday, are these two. So we'll be using the panels for Coffee and Card and some strips of paper, and there we go. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you joining me, especially as it was somewhat extended here today at 5 to 11. So thank you. If you missed the beginning, you'll be able to scroll back shortly. I am just going to score that a little bit better. Now it's got all of the other bits and pieces on. Let's just grab my band folder. There we go. That'll help it stand up. And because it's got quite a few layers in now, I think you would need to send this here in the UK first class large, because it's got quite a few layers there in the middle. And I think because I've added these little brads and things as well, not brads but the embellishments inside and outside, that's added, you know, a fair bit. So there we go. I hope you like our card. Thank you for joining me. Do take care. Enjoy the rest of your day. Stamps and the other things. Yes, definitely. Oh, that's a clever idea. Yes, I like that, Baz. So Baz says you could stamp them and have make some pegboard here, and then take some off, and then have them on the counter. So that's a very clever idea. Thank you so much, everyone. Do take care. I hope you have a go making a pop-up card. This is the first time I think I've actually made a pop-up card in this format. There's lots of different other pop-up cards, but this is quite a traditional one where it comes out of the centre. And as I say, you can make this into a table, I've done here, but it could also be a cupboard, a work cupboard, anything else like that, by leaving the front in and putting drawers on. So lots of different variations. If you do give it a go, let me know. I'd love to see, and do pop any photographs on our Jemini Crafts Facebook page for everyone else to see. Thank you so much, everyone. Take care. Enjoy your day. Thanks for stopping with me. Keep crafting. Bye for now.